Number 2. 4 police officers out the door. That evening, Daniel sat in front of his computer, playing a game. His eyes drifted around the room while his fingers moved the mouse mechanically. His phone chimed. He looked down. Message from Vivian. When are we going to talk about the separation agreement? Stop dragging this out. He stopped moving. Taking a deep breath, he pressed a hand against his forehead, closed his eyes. After a while, he shut down the game and stood up, heading towards Vivian's room. Then the doorbell rang. He glanced at the time, frowned, and turned toward the stairs. Opening the door, he froze. 4 police officers stood outside, fully armed. 3 men and 1 woman. 2 of the male officers, 1 white, 1 black, were tall and heavily built, their bulletproof vests making them look even broader. Their expressions were stern. The female officer, who looked Chinese, had a radio clipped to her chest and a baton and a handgun at her waist. Her eyes lingered on his face for a second. In the center stood a young Chinese-Canadian officer who gave a slight nod. Daniel stood there, stunned. Mr. Wang, the Chinese officer replied gently. Daniel relaxed a fraction and nodded quickly. We're here to investigate a report that a child may have been hit by a car. Daniel's eyes widened. His mouth hung open. It took him a moment to find his voice. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about, he said after a pause. You must have the wrong person. Nothing happened here involving a child? The officer pointed toward the driveway. Absolutely not. Daniel raised both hands at once. The officer looked at him without speaking. After a pause, he turned his head to exchange a glance with the female officer. She gave a subtle nod. The officer looked back at Daniel. Does anyone else in this household drive? My wife drives too. Daniel's voice softened. Is she home? Yes, I'll go get her. He turned and walked inside. After a few steps, he paused, as if remembering something, but kept going. Vivian was lying sideways on her bed, scrolling through her phone. She glanced up as he entered, then lowered her eyes again. Did you hit a child in the driveway? Daniel tried to keep his voice steady. Only then did she look up at him. Something shifted briefly across her face, then disappeared. I absolutely did not hit that child. Her tone was firm. Daniel stood there, looking at her. Then what happened? Vivian let out an impatient sigh. Backing out in the driveway, she had almost backed into a kid. She had got up to check, saw the kid was fine, then left. Daniel nodded. The police are downstairs. She froze for a second, phone still in hand. The police? He nodded. She sat up. Her expression shifted briefly, then settled again. Let's go. The 2 of them walked downstairs. Daniel translated what she had said to the young officer. The officer turned to Vivian. Are you certain that you didn't hit a child? Daniel translated the question. Vivian raised her hand and gestured firmly with her hands. Daniel looked at her. My wife says she's sure that she didn't hit the child. As he spoke, Sweat trickled down his forehead. The officer nodded and pointed toward the neighbor's house across the street. If we go check the security footage over there, are we going to see something different? Daniel translated again. Vivian said nothing. Her face remained blank. The 4 officers stepped back, standing by the roadside, talking in low voices. From time to time, they looked over at the house across the street. Vivian turned around and went upstairs, without saying a word. Daniel remained standing in the doorway. Cold wind drifted in. His t-shirt clung to his skin. After a while, the young officer returned, still wearing that faint smile. Since the child wasn't injured, we've decided not to pursue the matter any further. But please remind your wife, if something like this happens again, she needs to call the police immediately. Daniel nodded. Okay, thank you. The officer nodded once and walked away. Daniel closed the door but didn't move. He watched through the narrow gap. The 4 officers got into their vehicles. One cruiser drove away quickly. The other remained parked by the curb, motionless. Daniel didn't move. After a few moments, that car drove away too. Only then did he slowly let out a long breath. He stood there a little longer before turning to go upstairs. He pushed open Vivian's door. She was lying sideways on the bed, again, scrolling on her phone, the faint trace of a smile on her face. Seeing him come in, her smile faded slightly, but her fingers kept sliding across the screen. Daniel stood in the doorway, watching her for a moment. He said nothing. Then he quietly closed the door. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to Stories by Henry Substack for more. See you in the next one.